Hey, Ironman, welcome back. It's good to have you back here with us at the Grove for our second week in our new series called Getting Your Life Back, a book that we're going through by John Eldredge. We jump forward into chapter 4 this week, which is all about unplugging. The name of the chapter is called Simple Unplugging. And it made me start thinking about a lot of things. It convicted me. It was powerful. There was a lot of things in my life that I've been, thinking about along these terms of unplugging and getting a little bit disconnected from technology, not disconnected from people, but trying to get away from this assault that's going on in my brain and probably your brains too. But by now, we all probably know that social media and a lot of the things on the internet have led to increased depression. There's this big correlation between the two. So we don't really need any further evidence. I mean, there's still some coming in that shows that the being on the internet and being connected to devices all of the time is just not really that good for us. I've been reading this book. I just got it. It's called The Shallows, and it's how the internet affects your brain. And, I was just reading it this morning, even before I came in, and it talks a lot about these things too, and how our brains are getting reconnected and redeveloped through this sort of insistent, unrelenting assault on our attention. We're thinking differently. There's news and marketing and notifications and alerts and status updates and postings and this whole barrage of information that is really stealing and distracting us from our attention. So it's not only reshaping our ability to take in information, it really is restructuring our brain and our brain paths. We don't have to be, we're not focused on anything very long anymore. We can't even do it if we wanted to. For the most part, we're adapted to the quick, short stimulus, the swipe, the click that the internet and our mobile devices sort of afford us. He said in the book, The Shallows, he said, we have this diminished ability to concentrate and contemplate. And I think at that and I think, gosh, I don't want that. I don't want to have a diminished ability to contemplate or concentrate on things. The New York Magazine says this. It says, we've lost our capacity to concentrate on a complex task from beginning to end. And then sarcastically, they write, but the trade-off is we gain this great new skill where we can conduct 34 conversations across 6 different types of media. But the truth is we welcome this frenzy into our life. We welcome it because we think it's a good thing. And it made me think about a long time ago, probably 50, 60 years ago, we also thought Coke was a health drink. It was promoted as such. It was supposed to be a healthy drink for you. We also thought, 60 years ago, doctors were recommending smoking and that there was nothing wrong with that. It was also considered a healthy thing to do. So as we start getting further and further into the internet that we have been grown accustomed to having at our fingertips all the time over the last 20 years or so, we're starting to realize that maybe it's not such a great thing to be online all the time. Well, down through the ages, followers of God have believed that it was important to get somewhere where they could focus only on Him on a regular basis, and getting the practice of this was a very important thing to them. I want to read this to you. This comes from Psalm 119, 97 to 99. Oh, how I love your law. I meditate on it all day long. Your commands are always with me and make me wiser than my enemies. I have more insight than all of my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes. Well, I don't think we realize how much the use of technology has made this difficult for us to do. When is the last time you actually meditated on God's word? When is the last time you set aside time and got the assault on your attention away, where you could just think about God, and not only for all day long, how about 20 or 30 minutes to do that? So our attention is constantly being targeted and taken captive. And the sad thing is that we're cooperating with it. We're letting it come into our lives regularly, and we're letting it come into our children's lives as well. The BBC in 2017 reported, they did a study on our attention span, and our attention span used to be 12 seconds over the last 10 years or so, it's dropped now down to 8 seconds. And they also, just to make, pour salt in the wound, they said that a goldfish has the attention span of 9 seconds. So now we have the attention span of that of less than a goldfish. Now, I think that's assuming a goldfish comes and swims to the front of the aquarium and you're kind of tapping on the glass. That's about how bad our attention has become. But we go for the headlines. We go for blog posts that are short. We have a limited amount of time that people can post on TikTok and things like that because they know that people are only going to focus for that long. I came back from being a missionary in South Africa, and we visited our home church in Northern California. They had supported us. They kept us afloat over there many months. We wouldn't have been there without them. They were a huge support for us. But when we came back to give our update and kind of check in with them on a little furlough we were taking, they gave me 1 minute on stage. They gave me 1 minute to fill everybody in on what we'd been doing for the last 3 years. And it was sort of shocking and disappointing that that's how long they'll pay attention to something like that. Doesn't mean they didn't care about us, it's just that's how long their attention would be with that. So we don't have the ability really to linger and to dig deep anymore for the most part. We just kind of go from one next thing to the next thing to the next thing, the swipe, the swipe, the swipe, the swipe. We're looking at headlines and we're just moving on with this quick pass. So our attention has really been taken hostage for the most part. I want to read Psalm chapter 1 for you. I'm going to slow down and read this. It says, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates on the law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers, but not so with the wicked. They are like chaff, and the wind blows it away." If we're going to really get rooted with God and we're going to get deep with God, we need to let our roots grow deep and through meditation and through time spent with Him. And I like where it says, don't sit in the company of mockers. Well, what the internet has allowed us to do is become this anonymous source of mocking people. And even not anonymously, we feel like we can just say anything that we want to people. But it's ruined our ability to meditate and to give this sustained attention to God like we need to. Not a lingering focus, but we multitask all the time. So what does it take to get back to where we have this lingering focus that God talks about in Psalm 1, where we meditate on His law day and night? Okay, that's difficult. I read a lot. I read almost every day. I don't read long, but I do try to stop and read for at least 30 minutes a day at some point. Sometimes 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes or an hour at night. I find it super relaxing, helps me unwind at the end of the day. But it does force me to slow down and to linger and to not get my mind just spinning the whole time. And I want to encourage you, if you have, if your only source of a Bible is a Bible app, I want to encourage you to get a real Bible. And the reason I say that is that I know firsthand, I've done this, I have a Bible app on my phone, and I will go and have good intentions of reading it, and the next thing I know, a text will come in and I address that, and then that leads me to something else, and before long it's been 20 minutes before I realize I need to get back to what I was reading, and then maybe the time's gone and I don't have time to do that anymore. I don't like reading books on Kindle or electronic books either. Some of you may do that, and that's great. Whatever works out best for you on those, but for me, I like to have a real book. I like to sit down with it. It slows me down and forces me to focus. But we can't find more of God when we give Him a flicker of our attention. Last week, we did a thing in our men's group where we did this 1 minute pause during our group, and we had some nature scenes on the screen and a little bit of bird sounds and stuff, and we were just supposed to sit and think and meditate and focus on God and give some things to God, not necessarily praying, but just giving Him some of our burdens. And that 1 minute was super awkward for me, because I was sort of the one running the program. We just want to keep things moving the whole time, and to make ourselves stop and focus and think, about God. That 1 minute felt literally like a half an hour. And then the same week, my men's group, who I meet with once a week in the mornings, a small group, we did a thing on meditation. And only this time we had 20 minutes to go somewhere here on campus and meditate. And that was like one of the hardest things to do because we weren't, we didn't have an agenda. We didn't have something we were supposed to read. All we were supposed to do is just go and sit and think about God and pray and get the distractions of the world out of our mind. It was really difficult. It was great, after the first 5 minutes or so of getting everything out of our brains. But it was hard to do. But I struggle too, like some of you do. I respond when the phone chirps or when you hear the swoosh sound. And we all have our excuses. We're like the addict who says, I need it. It's for a good cause. I need to check. It might be one of my children texting in. But every notification was getting my attention and gets my attention, really, if I don't turn it off, if I'm sitting and talking to somebody. I want to be more present with people that I'm with, and I want to do a better job of that. But it's a quick trigger in our brain. We want to check out the latest news that just came in. There's this thing that scientists talk about called the dopamine loop. And it says this: the dopamine system is very strong. You tend to seek it more than you're satisfied. You see, dopamine is this chemical that your brain produces in your body that makes you feel good. And dopamine starts you seeking, then you get rewarded for seeking, and it makes you seek more. That's why people want to see people that like their posts and those kind of things. They want to be rewarded for that. It makes them feel good. It's this feel-good chemical, but it becomes harder and harder to stop once you start. And it doesn't even have to be social media. Some of you guys are probably saying, well, I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or any of that. But the same can be done with text messaging and emails. We want to feel important. We want to see those things coming in. It makes us actually feel good. So the question is, can you stop? Like any addict, you have to first admit that there is a problem. Okay, and this is very difficult because most people don't see this as a problem yet. Just like most people in 1950 didn't see that Coca-Cola was unhealthy or that cigarettes were unhealthy. But when that little chime comes in and that little swoosh alerts you, can you easily ignore it? Or do you have to stop, or do you continue having the conversation going on? When that thing vibrates in your pocket, do you have to check it? Okay, that's a tough one. Or do you ignore it? Do you automatically reach to see who it was? Do you shut off your phone when you get home in the evening? Or do you look at it constantly through the night when you're watching TV or when you're helping your kids do things around the house? Are you constantly looking at it and replying to people's text messages? When you first wake up in the morning, do you allow yourself a little bit of time to kind of let your soul wake up, or do you jump straight in and start looking at your phone and see what's going to happen that day, see what the latest is on Facebook, what's the news, what happened at the Democrat convention or the Republican convention? That's not good for your soul. You got to wake up slowly, get some coffee, get some time with God, and then, as the day progresses, get into your technology a little bit. But the truth is that we prefer distraction. And like any addict, we want to have something that comforts us. And the addiction here is the dopamine distraction, with the dopamine loop. We want to do something that's going to make us feel good and distract us. And the more distracted we are, the less present we are for our soul's needs, our disappointments, our boredoms, our fears. How many times have you seen people just looking through their phones because they're bored? It's a coping mechanism, really. And what sort of blows my mind is that we're all okay with this. It's a socially acceptable addiction that we're all okay with. And if we are going to get our life back, and if we want to get back to the place where we think God wants us to be, where we can stop and we can meditate and we can pray and we can think about Him all day long, like the psalmist says, we're going to have to start making some changes. I want to read this to you. James 1:27 says, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. It's that unpolluted part that sort of bothers me. It makes me think. Think about this. The average American checks their phone 80 times in a day. 70% of the people say that they sleep with their phone within reach. So 80 times a day we're looking at posts, media, notifications, all of these things are a barrage onto our brain. We have to make some changes. We have a choice. And I want to conclude with this. We do have a choice. Over the ages, serious followers of Jesus have used stillness and quiet and worship and fasting and all these spiritual disciplines, going to beautiful places and all these other exercises to get themselves in a position where they can connect better with God. We have to untangle our souls from the world. And looking at your phone 80 times a day is not the way to entangle your soul from the world. We have to give this to God. We have to give him this just like any addict would give a problem that they're having to God. Consider this. We have always been strangers and aliens in this world, right? Okay, this is not our home. Okay, we are not permanent citizens here. We're permanent citizens in heaven. So to the world, these values, they seem so strange and bizarre to those around us. But now we are faced with a series of decisions that are going to make us look like freaks in the world. So choosing things like fasting from social media, never bringing your smartphones to any meals that you're having, or any conversation. If you're having a meeting with somebody, it's leaving your phone in your office or at home so that you can give them your full attention. Or when you go into a Bible study, taking your Bible with you and not just the convenience of your phone so that you can stay completely focused on your Bible, and cutting off media so that we can practice stillness throughout our days. And that's going to be hard to do. And it's not just on your phone, it's on the TV as well. And it's like right now we're in the middle of all these political ads that are coming in. This whole thing just assaults our senses. And I want to just encourage you to just turn it off. Just turn it off and try to spend as much time in the quietness and stillness with God. So I'm going to finish with this. I'm going to give you five challenges to get your life back. Okay, 5 tips. The first one, and I've done this. I did this a long time ago. As soon as I figured out how to do it, turn off your notifications. Don't be reminded all day long that somebody posted something on social media. Okay. You don't need to know the latest in the sports world. You don't need to know which team beat who in the NBA playoffs or who won the PGA Championship Tour or whatever. You can go to an app later and look at that. You don't need the ding, ding, ding throughout the day. The second one is you need to take a fast from social media once in a while. Just like anybody who thinks they might have an addiction with something else, you're going to have to show yourself that you can live without it. Okay, so fast from social media. The third one, and this is going to be hard for me, is turn off your phone at 8 o'clock at night. Just turn it off. Okay, banish all technology from your bedroom, which includes TV probably. I have a TV in my room, and that's going to be hard for me. I like to watch the news and things at night. Okay, but let's challenge ourselves with this. Turn off your phone at 8 and get rid of all media in your bedroom. And that also means charging your phone somewhere else and not in your bedroom. When you say, well, I have to leave it in my bedroom because that's where my charger is. Stick it in your kitchen or somewhere downstairs on the other side of the house where you're not going to be distracted by it. Okay, the fourth one is don't check your phone as soon as you wake up in the morning. We mentioned that earlier. Give your soul time to wake up and catch up before you start checking in with what your day looks like. And the last one, and this is a hard one I want to really challenge you with, is when your phone chirps or vibrates, don't react. Okay? If you're sitting there having a meeting with somebody and your phone is sitting there and it starts buzzing, don't pick it up. Don't even look at it. Okay? Show the person that you're with that they're important to you and that they mean something to you. And the reason we're doing all this, you might say, Kyle, man, this isn't really like straight from the Bible or anything, but if you look at it in the big picture, it really is. This is all about getting our life back. It's about getting our soul back. It's about getting our attention back so that, like David said in the Psalms, that we can meditate and we can think about his word day and night. And we can't do that if we have an 8-second attention span. Worse than the goldfish, who's at 9 seconds. Okay, I want to encourage you, work on your attention span. Work on being able to give God the attention that he deserves. If you create a little bit of space for God every day, God's going to meet you there, and you're going to begin to love it. I promise you. So I hope you take some of these things to heart today. It's been great being with you. I hope you can be with us Tuesday night at 7. or Wednesday morning in person here at the gym at the Grove. We'll see you next time.